Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Welcome back to another lecture. It's been quite a while and there's still some stuff to do with this room, but at least you should hear me a lot better now since I'm wearing this. So today I wanted to take you guys through my training program. Many of you guys have requested it, and you know, I'm always a bit hesitant to answer questions about what I do if I can't do it in short. Like, you know me, my videos, right? Philosophy and gotta yap. So I gotta make a video about it, basically. But secondly, it's just a case that, you know, a lot of guys ask me what I do, as if they should be doing what I do. And you gotta realize when you're a coach that has taken what you do to a very high level, just ends up being the case that overwhelmingly your students and clients and people following, like what I do is just not what you should be doing. However, you should be doing things in the same way that I do them, and the base structure of this program, many of you guys could follow either because you're advanced enough already, or just that when you've made enough progress, you can transition into this program. And of course, as I go through the program as a whole, there's going to be many little nuggets of information that you can implement into your practice, even if you're not going to follow this program. So, we're going to start by just walking through the structure, the split as a whole, and we'll see, maybe I'll have to edit, but I'm upgrading my chalkboard situation. You see, 2024, even the chalkboard pens are high-tech now, but I'm hoping to be able to write out individual workouts here on this free space here as we go. Actually improvise a few, just to show you guys that it's not necessarily set in stone what the program has to look like, and it's still the same program, right? So, yes. I decided today to call this program the Solar King. I have a novice program that's called the Solar Knight Apprentice, great one, and many of my current clients will find that it's a variation of the Solar Knight Apprentice that you're following. I think roughly, of course it's a spectrum, like how often you train on a week. You could train once per week or every day, and there's something in between every other day. But I think roughly programs can be categorized in like novice up until the intermediate stage, and then from intermediate and beyond. So the Solar Knight Apprentice would be for a beginner. You could take it, you could get to a very good level there, intermediate, but then should transition to something like this if you want to take it further, right? So yes, let's talk about it. I'm very proud of this split, actually. It's not big brain stuff, really. It's just that I've never seen anyone that has this split. So there are other programs and splits, but the typical, most common 4 splits is, of course, full body workouts. You train your entire body at once when you go workout. Upper, lower, you divide your body into easy. Push, pull, legs, you also divide the upper body in 2, so you train pull muscles and push muscles separately, and then legs together. And then we have the bro split. That's, you know, usually a bad one, but it doesn't have to be. It depends on your level of awareness. But I go through all kinds of splits in my training book, by the way, guys. All these, everything is this, but with more details is in my book. So, you know, it's going to be linked in the description. You can pick it up if you want even more information about how to create your program. But so, I've liked from these typical splits, I've liked the upper, lower, and the push-pull legs the most. And what I like about upper, lower, after first having started with push-pull legs back in the day when I started training, is that it was cool to get to train the entire upper body at once, not always divide it like that. However, what I do like with the push-pull legs is that you get more opportunity to specialize on the push and pull muscles with some isolations that you might not have as much room for when you're trying training the entire upper body at once. So 2 years ago I was like, which one do I pick? Like, I'm never happy. Then it hit me. Like, when you're advanced at least, upper, lower, you do each twice per week, right? And push, pull, legs, you also do each twice. Well, if I cut both in half, make these two make love and have a beautiful love child that ends up being an upper, lower, push, pull, leg split. Ooh, wow. So that's the Solar King program. I love it because you get one chance to train push and pull muscles together, entire upper body, but you also on the same week get a chance to isolate, to be a little bit more specific. So let's get into just walking through the structure of the program. So we start with an upper day on a Monday. We're going to go into the workouts more, but because of this I mentioned the upper day is going to be mostly compound, or like almost compound exercise focus, like multi-joint movements mainly. because we're gonna get to our push and pull day when we have room for more isolation than specialization like that. We're gonna have a lower body day. We'll get to it then. Then the special thing here is, of course, it is 5 base workouts, and 2 rest days per week is going to be great on a split like this. You get good recovery, you're going to be able to make good progress. However, if you are someone that's super serious or just feel like you have the time, like myself, of course, because I work with this, you don't have to. I have a concept called like no rest days, just less days, right? It doesn't mean that you literally should never rest. It means that if you rest, that's also part of the process. But the point is that it doesn't have to be black and white, that, oh, I either go do my super intense heavy workout with a bunch of compounds and isolations, or I don't go to the gym at all, right? No, there's room to do something. So what I've been doing is, like, this is just an example. It could be other things. Of course, you have to take into account what you did on the Tuesday. Like, if you think that quads is a weak point you want to bring up, probably shouldn't put that here. But so what I've been doing for, I've changed it a little bit right now, but at the start of my bulk, like 1 year ago, I started doing neck and calves on the Wednesday. And I did abs for a while, and I've also done like hip flexor stuff. I've done grip stuff now. It changes around a little bit. But the point is that if I do neck and calves, like I said, it's like, you know, I'm just gonna fatigue the muscles in my neck and calves, but it's not so like, I'm not gonna get a big, not the heart rate going. My core doesn't have to be super active and that. So you see, from this kind of workouts, it's not gonna like bring my overall recovery down because it's so local. Like if I threw in a big compound in there, it would be something different, but just going to train my neck and calves, that's just not gonna exhaust me systemically at all. And of course, neck stuff, you can put, I could put like on a pull day, I could put the back of the neck, and on the push day, I could put the front. And of course, I could put the calves at the end of a leg workout. But it was both that I wanted to specialize a bit on these. And also sometimes, you know, you want to be able to, on a leg day, I want to focus on like the big meaty part of the leg and not be, do the calves when I'm all tired at the end. That I transitioned back to that now when I'm not pushing progress with my calves as much. But when I wanted to be a bit more serious about it, it was just good to put these two alone, so you can really focus on that. Then, simple, Thursday, we have our push day. Friday, we have our pull day. And Saturday, we have our legs day, like lower and legs, but it's just to make the point that these two splits have been married. But then the Sunday, rest misc day, when I done the same thing as I done on the Wednesday, right? So let's start walking through what the workouts can look like. So like I said, on our upper day, we're gonna be compound focused. So what I mainly want on our upper day, the main base, are 2 different pushes and 2 different pulls that check different boxes. Because we're gonna get the majority of our upper body stimulus from these compound movements, right? So what we're looking for here is presses at different angles, like one that targets more the chest, and one that targets more the upper chest and or shoulders. That's gonna depend on your individual needs and what you want to focus on, but that's kind of the different things we're looking for in the exercises there. With the pulls, we're gonna want one movement that's more lat oriented, so that's often from above or just pulling closer to the body, and one that's more upper back and rear delt oriented, or that's usually on a more horizontal angle and wide grip with flared elbows. So this could look like something like a chin-up. I said weighted chin-up, of course, if you can handle adding weight, but a chin-up would be a great first exercise. I should say this too, on upper body workouts, like the funny thing is many clients that have programs for me, they're gonna recognize a lot of my thinking, even if it's a different program you follow. But on upper body day, I always, some people go through like, oh, I do my pull stuff first and then my push stuff. To me, it makes sense to do them, like vary between them, because then some muscles are like resting until they have to work again. But when we pull, like row or when we push, use our chest, the shoulders, triceps, the back of the body, like the shoulder blades, we're gonna use them but more isometrically, like they're not just resting. However, when we pull, the chest doesn't really do anything to support. So to me, it just makes sense to put a pull exercise first, so you get the shoulder blades nice and warm, going, active, before you're gonna be pushing, right? So chin up, the amount of sets, it's gonna vary, but I typically for almost everything, I do 3 sets. And these compounds, a chin up, I would put something like 3 times 5 to 8 reps. Then we move on. We could just have something like a flat bench press, right? Flat bench, I would put it in a similar rep range. And let's be clear also that I'm talking about working sets, not warm-up sets, 3 working sets, right? And I should mention that when I put 5 to 8 like this, typically for almost everything, I apply a double progression. So you would want, on these, you would want to progress within the rep range until you can hit, on the first set at least, the higher end of the rep range. Now is when you add more weight and you start over at the lower end of the rep range. This is a side note, but sometimes you could you do the same weight and the same reps and just keep increasing weight, but you have to start lower. But generally, and I'm not talking about a general approach here, that's how I do it. So now we've got in our lat movement, the chin up here from above and closer to the body, and the flat bench, obviously, mainly the chest, we're working there. So now we want our more upper back movement. So there are different choices, but it's going to be something with a wide grip. I like me a wide grip. Seal row would be, I'm going to go with the options that are some just general favorites here. But of course it depends on what you have available and your personal needs and goals. But wide grip seal row. So I'm not doing this super beautifully, but as I'm talking, I think you can pick it up still. So wide grip exercises, generally, like pulling exercises all over, but especially these wide grip ones, you're going to lose the last portion of the range of motion way sooner than the rest. And especially when you get more advanced, that just might not be heavy, like enough stimulus if you stop at full range of motion failure. So I like to approach that kind of exercise doing always a specific number of reps. And just, I don't mind if I lose, I'm supposed to lose a bit of range of motion on the last 2-3 reps or so. And then I would move on when I feel like I can always do this at full range of motion. I would go up. But I like an exercise like that to keep them. If you take something like a bench press, I can't do partial reps. I'm going to get pinned under the bar. But here, it's a different story. So now our back needs are pretty much done. So the flat bench, obviously, a simple choice here would be an incline dumbbell press, right? Incline DB press. And here, the rep range, I would go for a slightly higher rep range just with the dumbbells. It's like not a complete compound, but it's a big movement that there's less stability, usually better to keep the reps a little higher. So this would be, here's overwhelmingly, we've got it overwhelmingly what we want in the program. What I put in often as a fifth option for most people when you just want to get a good, and also a little bit uncommon sense focus physique, you know, my yoke here, the upper chest, the traps, the shoulders, I get a lot of credit for, right? So a good exercise that isn't, well, a little hard to categorize as a push or pull, but it's an upright row. And this would be mainly for the mid delts and the traps, right? So, because I would often put a fifth exercise, but the first 4 are going to be the most important. This is like the cherry on top. Then it depends. For many of my clients, I would program it like this, but you could take out that one and have 1 or 2, I would say 4 to 7 exercises on an upper body workout. As an example, when I started bulking a year ago, I wanted to focus a bit more on biceps and lats. So what I added in was I actually did a pelican curl with rings before the chin up, so that the chin up would target that they are a little bit pre-fatigued, you know, just experimenting with a thing like that. And then I put a pullover with a dumbbell, or I went to a C-bar when I could use enough weight. So I had my 4. This was pretty much the exercises I had. But I had 1 bicep and 1 lat exercise, right? Okay, now we'll see how smoothly I can just get this off. Let's move on to our first lower day. So some people do leg or lower days like, oh, this is a front quad focused leg workout, or it's a hamstring back focused leg workout. To me, that's just too annoying. Like, I want to train the entire leg twice, but what I will do is just, will I put an exercise first that is more like quad or back of the leg, right? And we're gonna come back to some more of that thinking in the program later. But so let's say this is the one where you put the big quad movement first. So a barbell squat would be perfect. Like, why not? It's simple but effective, right? Again, I would have 3 times 5 to 8. Here's where I do sometimes differently. Like the lower body, I think it works so well to do mainly the big exercises. So like I would vary, because I've had a hip situation. We'll talk about the program mainly as if someone approaching it with no problems, right? But I had problems with some exercises, so I would intuitively, there's a squat variation I was doing. I had a safety squat bar, right? And so sometimes I would do more sets just because that worked well, and that was pretty much my quad work, right? But let's pretend everything is okay. So 3 sets of 5 to 8, same thinking. Then I would put a Romanian deadlift. I'll just put RDL here. Same, 3 times 5 to 8. What I'll just say, since we're here, is the Romanian deadlift, I think, is an exercise I generally like to do same weight for all the working sets, and then just lose reps if I had to. But the Romanian deadlift is an exercise I actually think works well to work out, do 1 heavy top set and then do a couple back of sets at slightly lower volume, because 1 intense set of Romanian deadlift is just, it's a lot of stimulus, you know. But this is of course going to be more hamstring and glute focused. Now we can go in several directions here. It depends on how advanced you are. To keep it quite simple, I won't even write it out. This is what I do for a lot of people. Put here, we've done the majority of the work with the lower body, even more so. These 2 exercises, you could make great progress just doing these 2 for your leg workout, as long as you're pushing it hard enough. So some extra nice, easy volume is just do leg extension and a leg curl, right? Isolate the quads and the hamstrings. A rep range of like 8 to 12 or 10 to 15, slightly higher, would be fine there. But if there's one of those I would want to change, it's the leg extension. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a good isolation for the quad. However, the leg curl is always going to be more important, because so what did the quad do? Mainly what the quad do is extend the knee like that. And that already happens in a squat, right? So we're just isolating the quad from all the other stuff in the lower body when we do a leg extension, but it's the same function. However, the hamstrings, they not only extend the hip like that, but they also curl the leg. And you're actually leaving gains on the table if you don't have a leg curl movement. So I could put the leg extensions and a leg curl here, but I could have something, if I want to be a little bit more serious and athletic with my quad work, I could have a split squat, a lunge, a Bulgarian split squat, something like that. And then the leg curl. Lying or seated, really your preference. But what you could do, if you do a leg curl on both your lower days, is do 1 lying down and 1 seated. And of course, I'll just say, the way I did it with the misc days, I didn't put calves here, but I will usually put calves at the end. So it's really the 2 first exercises, overwhelmingly the most important for the lower body day. 2 other ones, if you just want to get into free, not free, but easy volume, do the machines, leg extensions and curl. Calves at the end if you don't do them separately. And it's a leg extension, you could switch for something else. Alright, the misc workouts, I already talked about that. It could look so much different. It's just, the point is like isolation exercises that you don't really know where else to put, or that you want to focus more on separately. That's what you put on the rest or misc day, in case you don't just rest, right? So now we have a push workout. Generally now, when we're splitting the upper body in 2, I said 4 to 7 exercises for upper. Would depend on how advanced you are in that. Push and pull, I think 5 to 7 is usually good. Like, you could get away with less, but what I would typically do. So now I'm also gonna, because there could be many different variations, I'm giving you some options, right? But I'm gonna have at the back of my mind what I did earlier with the programs. So on our upper body day, we already had a flat bench, right? And it's also again, with the uncommon sense physique, what I focus on, I think the incline bench, I think it's a better exercise for many reasons, but we don't have to talk about all that now. But it's going to focus, of course, on the upper chest more. And just making, without only training at that angle, making the upper chest a priority is just going to lead to great overall chest development, right? So as our first exercise on our push day, we put simply an incline bench press. Incline bench. And you guessed it, 3 times 5 to 8. And with these rep ranges, guys, of course you can have slightly different rep ranges, but I'm giving you, I can't go through every variation that possibly could be. Okay, I say I should have dried this board a little bit more, but I think we got it. Why did I do it so ugly? Well, it's like I'm not thinking, but can we see this? Well, I'm gonna have to edit this anyway. Okay, I'm sorry it's so ugly. I'm gonna have to edit this anyway. But yeah, incline bench. Now we could have many things after this. We could have, so this is gonna be, I'm gonna go do it a bit more chest focused now. What you're gonna realize is that the shoulder, the front of the shoulder is always working when you're training the chest too. So that's why I would mostly prioritize the chest exercises first, since we're training the shoulder anyway. But so now we did that angle, so we probably want something at a lower angle. And so what I've been doing in my push workout lately is just a lying press machine where it's a neutral angle but the handles go together. But we could have a dumbbell press. I'll put that for example here, but it could be a dip, a weighted dip too. It's a slightly different angle, but that's the point. It's still a chest compound, it's just, or close to compound, but a different angle, different purpose, right? So let's just say flat dumbbell press, and again, I would go a little higher on the reps then, like 8 to 12, right? And so now maybe we want to get in something for flat DB, it's supposed to be a press. Well, you guys get it, I'm talking. Now maybe we want to get in something for shoulders. So good many things. I've been using a shoulder press machine. That's good because I can put something between my back. It's almost like a behind the neck press. If we didn't do dumbbells for the chest, like you could still do a seated like shoulder dumbbell press. I just like to vary the stuff. Like you let everything. I already did a dumbbell press there. I do some different press for shoulder. It's just, you don't have to think like that, but generally you have different boxes you're trying to tick, right? So let's just say we do a behind the neck press. Why not? Could be with a barbell, could be seated, standing, could be a Smith machine. I would usually put this slightly higher reps too. Like it could be lower, but let's say 5 to 12 even. Like 5 to 12 I would never put in someone's program as the rep range, but you see what I mean? It's just like whatever, you're getting it. It's like I want to explain everything. So now we've probably done most of our compounds that we need to do, and now what we choose for like isolations, it's going to depend a bit on our weaknesses and that. So I would a lot here want to focus on arms, right? It's been a weak point for I mean, it's not necessarily anymore, but yes. So I would like a bigger tricep movement here. Why not a lying C-bar extension, for instance? Great compound, get a good stretch on the long head, above your head like that. 3 times 8 to 12, good rep range. Now, someone that struggles a bit more with their chest, it's a weak point, or your shoulders take over and stuff. Now maybe I put some fly movement. However, for myself, I've not thought that I need to focus on that. Something like, but we could have many things here. A cable lateral raise is a typical thing I've been doing here. Yeah, cable lateral, a little higher on the reps. I would put often another triceps exercise here. Now, since we did something for the long head, here getting a stretch above our head, we can have something that focuses a bit more on the other head. So why not a V-bar push down? And you know, why even, like I'm just trying to make it a bit more visual for you guys, but you know, it can be 8 to 12, it can be 10 to 15, it doesn't really matter. And again, we could put a chest isolation or something, but we have 6, I said 5 to 7, we have 6 exercises. This is great, right? I'm gonna go on, but I want you to take in the structure here. Like it starts out with the 2 bigger movements. The behind the neck press can still be considered kind of a big movement, but you see how we go from bigger to smaller. I think people know that, but also listen to what I said about which muscles work together and that. Like all the push muscles are working here, it's just that it's chest focus here. And here, triceps is still here, but it's more shoulders. Now we're getting isolated here, right? Right, our pull day, all right? So again, I'm gonna take into account what we've done in our made up workouts earlier. So some people would have, oh, this is a lat focused back day, or this is an upper back focused back day or pull day. Well, I don't like that. Again, I would just kind of change the order of things. So now we're not doing push-pull legs, of course, but we had an upper day, and our main, the first exercise was the chin up, which is more of a lat movement. So why not put first exercise as more of an upper back movement? So could be different things. A standard barbell row would be a great one. You know, whether you're doing a standing or a more explosive, like a pendlay row from the floor, doesn't really matter. I did a very special exercise that I kind of made. It's a special seal row bench that you can stand on it as well, and you can kind of, it's very interesting. You can lock yourself into the bench, so you can't cheat with your quads like that, but you can bring in the posterior chain into it. And it was just kind of a cool compound. I put that as my first one. You see, I'm looking now for a bigger movement that doesn't necessarily be super flared elbows now, like I say for many upper back movements, like when we put the seal row on the upper day. But now, because it's our first exercise, maybe we take something when we pull at more of an angle like this, but not necessarily with flare elbows, because we want to be in a stronger position. So for this one, I'm just gonna put a barbell row as our main first exercise. This is also an exercise where I like to just have a set amount of reps, and if I have to cheat, yank it a little bit more, last 2 to 3 reps, it's a perfect level. If I could finish the set with a completely strict form, it's probably too easy, right? So now this trains the lats too, of course. It's just the angle is going to put, this is going to be more focus on here than like a chin up. So now we can go with something like a lat pull down. And now barbell row, even if we're not using a wide grip, I would probably want a closer grip on the lat pull down to just target the lats more. Close grip. I just put LP. You guys are gonna have to understand. Just trying to make it a little visual, you know. So now this would be the main bulk. These are 2 main exercises. Now it kind of depends. It's like, okay, we have still a bit more upper back focus. We want one more upper back focus movement here. Well, a wide grip seal row in a seated row. I mean, so let's just be WG seated row. Another one that I would just do a set amount of weight. I mean reps. Finish kind of a partial range of motion. Now we could transition into more isolated exercises. However, I think the back muscles are like the toughest ones, and I think that it makes sense. The posterior muscles are working, like my chest isn't working at all right now, but a lot of my posterior muscles are working just to keep me standing here upright, right? So I think it makes sense that some muscles just are a little tougher. So here we could have, like something I would like if I want a lat movement here is something like a unilateral cable pull down. So unilat pull down, let's just call it that. And yeah, 8 to 12 gonna be a good rep range here. Could even go lower on an exercise like this, but I probably wouldn't when it's the 4th exercise. But so this would be either kneeling or sitting on a bench, but you have the kind of diagonal angle, which actually when you're gonna get the best stretch on the lats. But now we definitely have the majority of our program. So here, many times, arm focus for a guy like me. I put something like a preacher curl, like a bigger curl movement. Preacher curl. 8 to 12, could go lower on an exercise like this, but especially again towards the end, just like having a little higher rep range. Here now, it was a more upper back focused workout, even if we get a good amount of lats in here. But if we want an isolation here too, I would do something like a cable reverse fly. Great exercise. Of course, you can do it with dumbbells or whatever, you know. But yeah, this is great. Yeah, it is nice. And yeah, I would often like to get one last curl in here. So why not an incline curl? We were in front of us with a preacher curl, got a nice stretch on one of the heads of the biceps. Now we get our arms behind us. And like, I've done both higher and lower reps here, but especially at the end here, I would put it a bit higher, 10 to 15. Yes, all right guys, let's move on. Alright guys, so our other lower day, like if it was a push-pull legs, we could go through two different of push and pull to show, but I'm hoping the ideas I'm giving you and my kind of thinking would make you understand. It's again, if you're doing push-pull legs, how you could vary because I think you should, if you do something, push-pull legs for instance, if 3 and you do them twice per week, you should have an A and B version of each, right? For just, you just have the opportunity to target slightly different on the different two, right? And it's gonna help. Those workouts are gonna help each other too. But so on this program, we do have 2 lower days. And yeah, the difference would just be many times. It depends a bit on the goal at the time. I'm going to later on, because when I fix my hips, I just feel like doing a deadlift more. And I would program it a lot, especially for beginners that, like me, it's just I want to get up the strength numbers high. But for a beginner, it's such a good bang for your buck exercise. We can't really say that it's a more of a, like, okay, if anything, it's a bit more posterior chain, but it's a standard conventional deadlift. You're using your quads as well. But so a deadlift here followed by some squat pattern is what I do a lot of the time still. But now let's just pretend for the sake of it, and I'm not getting into deadlifts at all, but I have a better opportunity to try. I'm not limited by injuries or something. Well, first of all, I think in that case, I probably would have put, instead of the Romanian deadlift, I would have put a good morning there. So it's a hip hinge when instead of holding the bar, you have it here. It's a similar exercise, it just shifts the center of gravity, so what muscles are working slightly. It's pretty much exercises that you can swap for each other. And I would just do that because the Romanian deadlift, if anything, you can move more weight. So if I'm gonna have these 2 exercises in my program, it would make sense to have on the one where I'm focusing, the workout where I'm focusing more on the backside, we'll have the bigger one. But not for now, let's say, oh well, I've already done the Romanian deadlift, so we actually start with a good morning. Yeah, a good morning rep range. I would often just keep it slightly higher because I just feel I connect better to it that way. Let's say 3 times 5 to 10, you know. And here, of course, we could have some barbell squats here. Again, like we did a back squat on our lower day here. We could have a front squat. Why not? I love me a front squat. But many times though, here is where I put still like a smaller squat variation that's still not like a complete, like a leg extension. So we could have something like a Bulgarian split squat even as our, that could be instead of the leg extensions on here, if we're really ambitious, doing heavy, difficult stuff, it could be the second option here as well. But you know what, for now, we put the front squat. That's how I do it if I just think of it in a vacuum. But for many people, I would have like a deadlift depending on their version of a program, right? Romanian deadlift or a good morning. See that it's not very good here. And follow this hip hinge good morning or a Romanian deadlift with like a Bulgarian split squat. That's great. For now though, a front squat would also be excellent. And then, guys, it's pretty much the same thing, you know. Like if this would be my more backside focused workout, here's where I follow up. I'd still want a leg curl, just the other one that I did on the first lower day. Again, because we want to train all the functions of the hamstrings. I would put the leg curl, and it would be, if I want to have the leg extension in my program, I would put it here. Since we're focusing more on the backside anyway, let's do the easiest, the leg extension on this one, keep the bigger movements to that day. And then again, if you don't do the calves on a misc day, calves at the end would be great. But yeah guys, that is the program. I don't think I have much more to add. It's like, I'm hoping, you see, that a program, the way you should see this, okay, this is actually a great way to round this off. So a program, you should not be switching programs all the time. Like me, I followed this program, this split for 2 years. And what you should do is like your version of the program, whatever it ends up being, see instead of entire workouts or splits, see the workouts as the different things I put. This is a slot. Like let's just pretend I won't put out the others, but I could be following this for a while. Be like, you know what, I I want to move on, or I have changed my focus a little bit. Well, the good morning, I could swap. Now I don't care about my hamstrings a little. I just want to get strong. I put the deadlift here, and then maybe like okay, and then the front squat is just a little bit too much for me. Then I do a Bulgarian split squat here, right? Or let's just say. I think the incline bench is most focused on the upper chest is good. However, I really want this flat bench goal now. I have to be a bit more specific. So now I actually swap the first, I do the flat bench on my push day and I follow up with some upper chest movement later on, right? You see, you should see the workouts as templates, like that. There are different exercise slots. The upper, there are 2 push and pull slots. The same, you want the same, like one, like the push, there's going to be that one is more here and one is more here, you know, that's the difference. But within that, like we had on our upper day, we had a flat bench and an incline dumbbell press. Well, we could have depending on where we do rest, we could have an incline bench and then a dip. We could start with a dip and then have an incline dumbbell press. It's like we can change many things here. There's the base structure, that is the program. And that's the last thing I say. I go into programming much more in my training book, many different things, everything I can think about in the process of training for the uncommon sense goals we have, jacked and stacked as an expression of becoming a exceptional individual. But yeah, I go into all my thoughts about programming there, but that's kind of how I teach it, you know. I just don't hand you finished program. I go through what different workouts can look like and why and what the changes can look like so that you in the end can build your own program. And last thing, of course, is that if you're still lost or if you just feel like you could speed things up a lot, which you could with me by my side, there's always the coaching, right? So guys, like and comment. We'll be very interested to hear what you think about my program. Anything that came up, give me inspiration for future videos. I listen a lot to you guys and it helps the algorithm, helps boost our numbers here, help more people find their way here. So please comment anyways, guys. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching. Like I said, if the book isn't enough for you, working directly with me might do it. So you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. I'll get back to you with my different programs. Book is also in the description below. And if you also just want to support me and the Uncommon Sense channel, you can become a member of the channel, a Patreon, or leave a little super thanks comment. It's very much appreciated. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys, but I just have no idea what to say on a training video like this. So go get jacked, guys. Peace.